Let's talk about Margaret Murray Washington. And before I forget, she is the third wife of Booker T. Washington. Every time I record this, I always forget to mention that. But at the same time, I'm not mad about forgetting it because women are not defined by their husbands. Anyway, now, she was an American educator who was the principal of what would eventually become the Tuskegee University, and she was also a suffragist. She is one of the founders of two of the suffragette movements that we have been talking about. We'll get there. We'll get there. Her father passed away when she was 7, so she went and lived with a Quaker couple that encouraged her to become a teacher, which was one of the few occupations or few career choices that were available to women. Now, by the time she was 14, she was so advanced in her studies that her school, the school she was attending, offered her a teaching position. Can you imagine 14 years old being so smart, so advanced, that the school you go to offers you a teaching position? So Mary Margaret was hired as a lady principal of the Tuskegee Institute. Okay? She was responsible for supervising women students and supporting women on Tuskegee's faculty. She established the curriculum, the women's curriculum, for lower and postgraduate divisions, and the curriculum was in sewing, laundering, soap making, table setting, cooking, and broom making. And these were all, domestic type activities. Because, and regardless of what anybody says, it's still that way today. The expectation is that you marry. That's the expectation. In 1895, she created the Tuskegee Women's Club, which later merged local organizations with women's clubs to help improve the values and liberation of womanhood and African American women in Jim Crow South. Okay? That same year, she gave an influential speech titled Individual Work for Moral Elevation. And this was spoken during the First National Conference of the Colored Women of America. In that speech, she said that black women were divided into two classes: those who had the opportunity to improve and develop mentally, physically, morally, spiritually, and financially, and then those who had been deprived of that opportunity by slavery. Now, she urge and encourage are the same. Okay. But she urged the members of the former class, those who were able to improve, right? She urged those in the former class to uplift those in the latter class, those who were not able to improve because they were deprived of opportunities by slavery. They were still being impacted by the effects of slavery. Does that sound familiar? All we're really doing is repeating history. She encouraged those who were able to improve, to turn around and help those who were not able to improve due to the effects of slavery. Okay? The reasoning being that individual success was not enough, but that only by lifting as we climb was it possible for the race to make progress. And we've heard the term lifting as we climb. We talked about that when we talked about the NACWC, right? Now she, along with other black women, formed the National Federation of Afro-American Women, and Miss Murray Washington was president. She was the very first president. Okay. Now, the organization helped women in the South that were trying to buy a house to open daycares, and this would give them the opportunity or the chance to go to work. Because one of the few careers that they had, of course, was daycares, teachers, maids, domestic help, especially when you're talking about the opportunities provided to black women. In 1896, she founded country schools, taught women how to live and attend to their homes, worked for the improvement of prisons, and constantly worked for the betterment of the poor and neglected. This woman is the definition of having a servant's heart. That's just who she was. She was working for the people. Yeah. So in, 1912, she became the 5th president of the National Association of Colored Women. There it was. There it is. Remember, we talked about the NACWC, and what I know, but I couldn't find when I was reading about her, was that she was one of the founders of the NACWC. I mean, you can assume it because she was the founder of one of the organizations that merged with 2 others. But yeah, she was the founder of that organization as well. And became the 5th president. Yeah. In, I believe it was 1915, she worked to improve the educational system for black people. Servant's heart. Literally a servant's heart.